desk right now, and I thought it would be fun to kind of walk through how I'm going to use the wooden gnomes. But the first thing I have to do is I have to get the SVG that came as part of buying the wooden gnomes into a cutting system, whether that's Cricut, Design Space, or Silhouettes, Design Studio, or a Brother, whatever die cutting machine you have to get this SVG that comes as part of some of these specials that we have into that program so that you can actually cut them. That would be very similar to the Deck the Halls special that we have going on right now as well. The Deck the Halls, you can get these ornaments with the glitter paper or with the paper board that you see here in black or in the tan here. You can get those as part of a kit where the paperboard or the glitter paper is already cut out for you, or you can use the SVG that comes with these to cut your own papers if you don't like these particular colorways. And that's the same with the wooden gnomes that we had a little bit earlier. I think we had these in October, and I'm just getting around to using them. So the wooden gnomes are still available, and I'm going to just search for this. They are very limited though. Right now, only the US version is available. We sold out of the rest of the world, Canada and Australia, New Zealand versions of the bundle, but there are still a few left of the US version. And this bundle comes with one wooden gnome. It comes with the SVG that you see here, and then it comes with the stamp set that was part of this bundle. So it has various different stamps that you can switch out to. And these are made for you to cut out papers and apply them to the wooden backing. And you can see some of these, they've stained the wood. They've colored the wood on this one too. This one's just plain. And again, you can do a whole bunch of really fun things with these. But when you buy this, you are going to get a digital component. And that digital component is what you need to upload into Design Space or Silhouettes program in order to cut this out. And if you've already bought it, or you have, you're looking at this, you will see a link to your digital library when you look at this particular page. But if it's sold out, obviously this won't be here. This won't have a page for you to go to. So to get to your digital library, you're going to go up under your name. So you do have to be logged in to your maker's account, whichever maker you shop with. You have to go up to your name, and when you click the drop down, you're going to go into the account option. You will not have online office. You will only see account, but because I'm a maker, I have online office as well. And when I click on account, then I'm going to come over to the listing over here on the left-hand side, and there is a listing for digital library. And this is where all of your SVGs will live that you have purchased through the website. When you click on the digital library, it will again list out every one of the digital pieces that you have purchased. Okay. In order to use them, though, you need to download them and upload them into that program that's going to allow you to cut it. And to download this, you're going to click on the download button or the download paper icon here, and it's going then to ask you to save this somewhere. Now, for me, I have it saved under a file that's close to my heart, and then I have a separate file that's the SVG file. And you can see I have my digital collections folder, and then I have just the wood gnomes. It's going to download what's called a zipped file, which is which is a file that has been compressed. And that file we will need to then unzip so that we can load this into Design Space. So I do have this here already, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my, my Finder file. And when I click on this zipped file that I downloaded in a Mac, it will automatically unzip and give you a standard SVG file. And this is the file that you're going to load into Design Space. You cannot load a zip file into Design Space or into Silhouette Studio. You have to unzip it first, then you can load this SVG into Design Space. So it's really important. You do have to unzip these before you can load them into any one of these programs. All right, so now that I know that I've got that already unzipped, I'm going to go into Cricut. And when I come into Cricut, I'm going to land on their main page. So when you open up Cricut Design Space, generally it'll bring you to this page. And in order for us to upload that file, we need to do New Project up here on the right-hand side. And I had a project open, so we'll just go ahead and say that we save that. And I have now a new canvas that I can work on. To upload, once you get onto this new canvas, there is a menu bar over here on the left-hand side, and we're going to go to the Upload option on the menu bar. And I'm going to click on that. Now I have already uploaded this gnome, but I'm going to go ahead and do it again so that you can see how it's done. So I'm on the image. There are two places that you can upload information into Design Space. Fill pattern is more of uploading pictures of patterned paper or a particular pattern that you might want to use as a fill when you're doing your designing. Images are where you're going to upload your SVGs or other compatible files. So you're going to click Upload Image, and you can either browse to your folder or you can drag and drop. I'm going to go ahead and just open this up, and I'm going to drag this Gnome SVG into my space here, my upload space. And you will see now I have all of those components that are part of this wooden gnome. I am going to change the image name. I always put close to my heart as the designer for this, or information on the image name so that I know. And then I'm going to put in 2023 for the year. And then I'm going to add tags. I like to add tags to make sure I can find this. Obviously Gnome is going to come up, 2023 is going to come up, CTMH is going to come up because those are all in the image name. So I'm going to be adding additional tags that I think I might want to have pulled, or when I'm looking for things, I might want this to pull into that search criteria. So one of the tags I want to put in is mustache. The other one I want to put in is hat for the hat that's there, and boots. But I'm also going to get a little bit more specific here, and I'm going to say Santa hat, because I think that that hat looks like a Santa hat that I might want to use in the future. And the boots look like elf boots, and then Santa boots. So again, when I look at the image, I'm trying to pick out the pieces that I might need in the future, and where I might want to use some of these things or these cuts in the future. All right, so now once I've got my tags, I'm all good there. I can go ahead and upload. So now I have my second file here. When I click on that, I can go ahead and down here on the bottom right-hand side, which I'm hoping will show, there is an Add to Canvas option here. And I might shrink this up just a little bit just to make sure that you guys can see this. So when I select this item, it's all got a green highlight, I have an add to canvas option here. So when I click add to canvas, it's going to add it to that project that I had. And the thing that's important to know that anytime you import an SVG, it is going to come in grouped, which means that all of these pieces are grouped together. And you're most likely going to want to ungroup them so that you can manipulate them. Not necessarily manipulate the size of them, but manipulate the color or other things. So the easiest way to do that is to just right click and get the ungroup option. But there is also over here under layers, the ability to ungroup as well. So either way, either one of those will work. So now that I've ungrouped it, now I can move things around. So I can move them to put like pieces together and sort of separate them out so that I can know which pieces are which. The other thing I can do is I can recolor these. When you are working in Design Space, if everything is the same color, it means it's all going to go on one mat. So in order to get different mats, things to show up for different mats, you do need to color them so that the system knows that you want this to be on a white mat or a white piece of paper or a brown piece of paper or whatever. But just recoloring them will allow you to change the mat that it goes on. So I'm going to recolor the mustache and I'm going to make that white. This is the placard that is going to go with the saying on it, and I want that to also be white. So I'm going to recolor those two things. Now both of these now will be put on a separate mat, and it will be a white color on the mat. I would do the same thing for the nose and hands, so I might just change these to sort of this orangey color, orangey beigey color here. And then in most cases, I'm probably going to have the hat be cut in a different color, so I'm going to again change that. And this banner piece, this piece that's going to go across the top, I probably want as a different color as well. And then the boots and these other pieces, I could leave black or I could change as well. So maybe I want the boots also to, be on the same mat as the band that's going to go across the hat, right? And maybe this little piece here, I'm going to want to be on the same mat as the hat. So again, these are just examples of the ways that you can recolor these so that you can get them on separate mats. The last thing I want to talk about here is this white piece here. I didn't buy the stamp set, and I do have stamps, but I thought it would be fun for me to put my own spin on this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a text to this, and I'm going to have it write on this piece before it cuts it. So I'm going to use the pens that you can use with the Cricut to write some phrases or sayings or names on these white pieces. So I'm going to click text over here, and it's going to give me a text box. Now what's important to note is a couple of things up here at the top. Orientation, it says basic cut, and the font says Cricut Sans, and the style says regular. If I do this, it's actually going to cut whatever I type here, and I don't want to do that. So I actually want this to be pen, and I'm going to use it as black. It's going to be a black pen that I use. So I need to change this to pen. If I don't do that, it's going to try and cut it. Then the next thing I need to do is I need to find a font that I want to use. And I'm actually going to do a filter here on this fonts, and I'm going to look for a writing font. I want to just see fonts that are writing type fonts. And then I can find a font that I like from this list. So, lots of different options here that you can work with. You can filter even more if you want to free, if you don't have access. So the little A here that you see means that I have access, Cricut Access, which gives me the fonts for free, so I don't have to pay for them. So if I clicked on free, it will also bring the list back with a little bit less availability. There's 458 fonts right now available here. And at this point, then now you're just going to look for a font that you like, right? Whichever kind of goes with your style. And I'm going to grab this Fluffy Socks one. And that's going to change my text. Then I can come over here and I can type in what I want. So let's say I want to do Steve, and then I'm going to change this, and I'm going to bring it up into my square here. Now that I have that, I can change my font. If I want this size of this font to be a little bit bigger, I can make this a little bit bigger. Again, just by changing font size, so it's nice and big. And then I can adjust it and center it and make sure that I'm happy with all of that. If I want to do another one of these, I can click here and I can make a duplicate of this. So I'm right-clicking and I can make a duplicate. It's going to create another box. Again, I can do another shape. It's going to remember that I had fluffy socks. It's going to remember that I wanted this to be a pen. And then I can just type in here, let's see, what do I want to do here? Spring blooms. Right? And I can bring this over and I can size this appropriately. Again, this is a little bit big, so I can bring this down a little bit so it fits in my box comfortably. A little bit smaller. That might actually work if I actually do it. If I might not need that. No, I think I need it like that. So again, just going to space it appropriately here, and I've got those two. The last thing that's really important if you're going to do this is if you just leave it like this, it's actually going to print this wording separately. So if I go to make to show you, if I go make this, you will see that I've got all of my mats. So I've got the color, the mats by the color, and you will notice that on mat 1, I've got the words that I wrote. Mat 2 has the actual squares to cut with the mustache. Mat 3 has the boot and the band. Mat 4 has the nose and hands. Mat 5 has the hat and band, and then mat 6 has those little pieces that go on the hat. So the problem here is this means that this is going to print on one mat and it's going to have something else totally on the second mat, which we don't want. So to solve for that, when we come back, if we cancel out, we are going to select that grouping, the Steve and the box, and we are going to attach them together. Down here on the bottom, we are going to attach. Once we do that, if we select that and then do attach again down here on the bottom, and I go to make it, it's now on a singular mat, and it's going to, and it says pen plus basic cut. And this will then allow us to have the pen draw these words out, and then the system will cut it. All right, so now that we have that, the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that once I hit make, again, you'll notice when I go to basic cuts, or I go to these other pieces, that the system is automatically putting these pieces in a linear fashion, right? So for the most part, they're lining them up left to right. You do have the option of using smaller pieces of paper that you might have in your stash to make this work. So you might not have a piece that's, almost 4 inches long. You might have a piece that's 3 inches by, say, 3 inches. You may have a little scrap. You can move these pieces around to fit within that space so that you can use a little 3-inch by 3-inch piece of paper. You could probably even make this work with a 2-inch by 2-inch or 2-inch by 3-inch piece. You can also rotate the pieces so that they can fit in a smaller piece as a paper as well. So like I can move this around and I can shift that around. And when I go to cut this, then it's going to use a much smaller space. This is a great way to use up scraps, which is what I did. Again, on this one, you can see they've got it going across. And maybe I do have a strip of paper that's long enough, but if I don't, I can come in here and I can play with this and I can shrink these up together so that I can get more cuts in a smaller piece of paper. The only thing I have to be careful of is that I don't go outside that red line that you see. You notice that it's going to drop it right down if I do that. But if I come in here and I shift all of these around, I can pretty much probably get these in a 2 by 2 piece of paper that I might have as a little scrap for these pieces. So again, really, you can play around with this so that you can utilize your paper in the best way and not use too much of it, right? So again, really, really important that you take a look at these mats and these cuts and make sure that they're going to cut the way you want them to. All right, so I'm going to go away and I'm going to get a bunch of paper cut, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some assembly and show you some of the fun papers that I selected to put on these gnomes. All right, so here are my cute little gnomes that I have finished putting together. I did 3 samples for you to see different ways that you might be able to put these together. The first one is more of the fall gnome or the Thanksgiving gnome, and this one can be used in lots of different ways, but I'm choosing to use it as place setting cards for my Thanksgiving table. And so this is using our fall gnome paper, and it is 2-sided. The Steve on the front is the placeholder, and then on the back I went ahead and I printed out, just like I showed earlier, what I was thankful for Steve, who's my husband. So I thought that was a nice, cute little way to sort of decorate the back. They could turn it over, they could see the thing I was thankful for them in my life. And I thought that was really cute. So again, this is using the gnome for fall paper. My baking gnome is a little bit more generic, though this was holiday paper that we had a couple of seasons ago. This was freshly baked was the paper, and but it doesn't have to be holiday themed. I think this could work just as a fun little thing to put in a kitchen. And I didn't put anything on the back of this one, but this one might be fun to like put a special recipe on, maybe on the back of that one that is a family recipe. That could be a fun way to sort of preserve and have some decoration. On this one, you'll notice I have the little pieces on the hat that I don't have on this one. And I did cut them out, and I did sort of play with them, whether I was going to use the words that are the recipe, or if I was going to use the other side. But when I put it on, I didn't really like how it broke up the paper of the baking. I really thought that that didn't really do much for it, and so I decided that I was going to leave those off and just have the baking pieces, the baking elements that are on the hat to show through, so that it was very clear that this was a baking gnome. And then the last one that I did was the holiday cheer, and this is using the Jingle Joy paper. Again, this was a number of years ago, and I was just using up my stash. And on this one, I did little cross hatches on the pieces, similar to what's on the base piece. But on this one, I did a stitching line, and I thought that that was really cute on that one. And again, holiday cheer, and maybe you want to put a memory or something on the back side of this, or you could have another phrase or saying around the holidays for this one as another example of what you could use that for. So there are 3 examples of the gnomes that I wanted to show you. You'll see that I have a couple of other options here on the right hand side, Valentine Kisses and Spring Blooms. I didn't print out any paper for those, but those were some other ideas I had. And you'll also notice that I did decorate this one a little bit more with some stamping. I did pull out the Design Elements stamp, and I picked the sprig element here and used Sundance ink just because I felt like there was too much white space on that one, and I wanted to close that up. The stamp of the month, which is Thanks a Bunch, also has some really great sayings for sort of this season, this time of year. And the Thankful, Grateful, Blessed, if these are individual stamps, and if you lay them on your block a little bit tighter than they're shown there, it will fit on this piece of paper that fits on that board. So again, another great option. Also has some really great elements for embellishments around these if you wanted to do that. And again, this is the stamp of the month. It's $19.95 by itself, but if you place a $50 order with your maker, this is for $5. If you are a VIP, this would be free with a $50 US order. And then lastly, I did mention in earlier in the video about arranging pieces on your mats so that you can use up scraps. So this happened to be a scrap that I had on my table for the nose and the hands, and you can see I rearranged the orientation so that I can make it fit on this scrap piece of toffee. I did the same thing with the striped paper, where I had this little scrap left over of the fall gnomes paper, and I rearranged the pieces so that I could get this on this piece of paper that's I believe a 2x3 piece of paper, and I could cut that out and use up this scrap. So again, you're able to look at your scraps and see what might work, and use some of those pieces as long as you move them around to fit into that small space. Right, so hopefully you got some ideas, and that this is something that you can play around with, either if you bought the gnomes earlier this year, or if you buy the bundle that might still be available. It was available this weekend. I'm hoping it's still available. Oh, last thing. What did I adhere this with? So you can use the mono glue or any sort of liquid glue that you might have. That's an option that allows you to slide pieces around, or you can use a tape runner as well. So either one of these will work and will adhere to the wood pieces. You can also embellish this a little bit more. You could add some shading for the mustache, or add shading around the nose and the hands if you wanted to do that. And I obviously took a little bit of a black pen, and I made some details on the feet and on the stitching that I saw. So again, you can embellish these in other ways if you like. You're just limited by your imagination. So hopefully this has been fun, and if this is a video that you liked, feel free to hit the like button, and I'd love to have you as a subscriber if you'd like to subscribe and see my next videos that I put out. Have a great one!